Hello, this is Paula. I am Paula from the Knitting Pipeline podcast. It's an audio cast, and this is Knitting Pipeline Extra. I am doing a periodic video supplement to the audio. I have to get in the swing of this. So today is February 9th and 2016. You can find me on Ravelry as Prairie Piper and on Instagram as Knitting Pipeline. Those are the main places to find me. So I had some suggestions the first time I put this out that I not have a glare on my glasses. And last time I thought I had conquered it until I watched the episode back and I realized that whenever I look this way at my notes, the sun comes in and hits my glasses. But until I get new glasses, I think that I can't really avoid that. Anyway, welcome to everyone. Thanks for giving me a shot and watching. I am wearing my Breezy cardigan by Hannah Fettig. It's a long, loose cardigan. It is done in Quince & Company Tern, and I believe this is the Booth Bay colorway. Tern is a fingering weight yarn in American wool and silk. I think it's 75% wool and 75% silk. Okay, I have not done a show since December 23rd, so there's quite a lot to show you, and about halfway through or so, I will let you know when the quilting is going to start, so those of you who aren't interested, but I have done quite a bit of that as well. So let's start with socks. Back in episode 236, I talked about my waving lace socks by Evelyn Clark. This is what they look like. They have a scalloped top on them, but that's optional, of course. You can do a plain ribbed, and then a typical classic slip stitch heel, gusset, and these are done in Hazel Knits Entice, which is an MCN. Don't think I'll be using an MCN again for socks. It just feels like it's not going to wear quite as well. I don't know. So here's the other one, but I don't have enough sock blockers to show you all of them on sock blockers without taking time. I really enjoyed doing this. It's a great sock. It's from the book Favorite Socks. I meant to bring that over here. And there are socks, it's by Interweave, and there are sock patterns by various sock designers. So this is the one, Waving Lace by Evelyn Clark. And I'm really fond of these. It's also on the front page of the book, or the front cover of the book. And then I got going on the Zigzagular socks by Susie White of Prairie Girls Knit and Spin. She's Prairie Girl Susie on Ravelry. This is, let's show the side that really counts. This is why it's called Zigzagular. It has this really simple and fun traveling stitch down the side of it. This was some yarn that had been in my stash for some time. I had purchased it at the Fiber Universe in Peoria, Illinois. If you hear a plunking noise, it's because it's snowing outside and there's been some melting and it's dripping down into my chimney there. So anyway, getting back to that, I had purchased this Cascade Heritage paint in the, I don't know what the name of the colorway is, or even if there is one, but I didn't know that it would pool in this way that looks somewhat like self-striping. It's not really self-striping, but it has that effect, the way it pools and with the number of stitches that I happen to have on it. Again, this is a traditional top-down slip stitch heel, gusset, and I did a wedge toe on this. I usually do a round toe, but the pattern called for a wedge toe, and I decided to go ahead and do that. I did talk on the audio about how to eliminate the donkey ears on a wedge toe, which is when you get, well, I don't know what happened there. I accidentally turned off. I tried to get the screen lit up again. So I'm not going to edit the video cast, so what you see is what you get. So I was saying that in the Knit Picks Felici, that some of the colors have a little bit of color from some of the others in there, and I think you can see that, but I rather like it. I think it adds to the beauty of the yarn. I did not try to match these. I was going to, so you can see I I have that little strip of purple up there, and I was going to try to match them, and for some reason, when I got to the second one, I just decided not to. So the stripes kind of run together, but they're different stripes and different in the same places. Again, that's another Zigzagular by Susie White. It is a free pattern, by the way. All these socks are for me. I've been very indulgent lately, I guess, but I'm starting to knit a box of socks for my husband. This is the Bootstrap Sock by Laura Neal from Sock Architecture. The yarn is Gale's Art Wonder Sock in the graffiti colorway. It was a gift to me from Susan B. Anderson. And when she gave it to me and I opened it up, she went like that because I think she knew that this was a little bit out of my comfort zone, but I thoroughly enjoyed knitting with it. Almost every stitch was a different color, so how can you not love that? And I'm going to slip the other one onto a blocker so you can see them, because this is kind of important that you can see how cool this is. But the Bootstrap Sock, if you listen to my audio cast, you'll know it's one of my favorite. Kind of a vanilla sock, but with a little more fun to it. So one of these is more blue and one is more pink. And I think that's very fun. You can see how the blue one gets actually more pink down here at the bottom. And let's see if there's anything else to say about that. I can't think of it. Let me glance at my notes so you can see the glare on my glasses. Oh, I have it in my notes here, favorite socks. When I was talking about the waving lace socks, it's favorite socks, 25 timeless designs from Interweave, edited by Ann Budd and Ann Morrow, 2007. So it has 25 in there. So that's what I had the waving lace socks out of. So again, this is Bootstrap Socks by Laura Neal. And I'm going to bring this up here. I don't know if you can see. It has a garter ridge down here. And next time, if I'm doing it with a highly variegated yarn, I might just make that reverse stockinette instead of garter stitch. And then I would know whenever I come to this place, I would just purl those stitches instead of looking to see whether it was to be knit or purled. Can't remember the name of the episode, but I talked about how there's quite a bit of difference between different weights of fingering weight, sock yarn. You have 100-gram skein, and sometimes you have 465 yards in there. Sometimes you'll have 375. So there's a big difference in yardage. This is a good example of a pretty heavy fingering weight, and it is Plymouth yarn Happy Feet, I think. Happy Feet 100 Splash, hand dyed. It is 90% superwash merino and 10% nylon. Sorry, my screen keeps going off. I guess I need to figure out how to fix that. It didn't happen the other times that I recorded. I got this at the Fiber Universe in Peoria, Illinois, when we went on the yarn crawl for the Cornerstone retreat. And I think half of us bought a skein of this because the regular price is, I think this was $18.95, but we had a 20% off from the Fiber Universe on fingering weight. And so this is a very plump fingering weight yarn because it only has, let's see what the yardage is. You can tell by feeling it if you're familiar. It has 384 yards. So even though there's less yardage, it still is a 100-gram skein. So just remember that the value is pretty much the same if you have the same weight, but you might get more yardage. And that might mean, for example, for me, I would definitely knit a thinner fingering weight on a size 0 needle, and then, which the US is 0, and I can never remember, I think that's 2.0, and then I'd go up to at least a 1 on a heavier one like this. In episode 238, I started talking about a slight obsession that I have with the Wool Baby collection by Melissa LaBar, and it is published by Quince and Company. And this is the May cardigan, and I did it in the 0 to 6 month size. It looks much bigger when I'm holding it up here, but it fit my granddaughter at 6 months, and she's kind of petite for her age, so I think it came out pretty much to size. But it has a really pretty lace border. It is knit top-down raglan construction, and then the back is very sweet too. The yarn called for, and that's what I used, is Quince and Company Chickadee, and this is the split pea colorway. The arms were a little long on her, so on the next one, I did shorten the arm a little bit because I figured if it was long on a 6-month-old, I only shortened it. I'm holding it up. This is the one with slightly shorter arms. So I have 2 of these, exactly the same except for that feature. And they're going for a gift for a baby shower that I have coming up. One is this Saturday, and the other one there's no shower. I'm just giving them a gift. And the babies are due right around early March. I figured St. Patrick's Day for one of them is a piper in the band, and well, he's the dad. But so I just fell in love with that, and I did go ahead and knit the bonnet that goes with it. I have 2 of these as well. So this is the Aziza bonnet that goes with the May cardigan, and there's the lace on it. It's the same lace pattern that goes around the top. Another great thing about that cardigan is that it's open, so you don't have buttonholes, button bands, so it knits up very quickly. This you could easily do in an afternoon or an evening. And some people in their project page have it like this, but to me, I thought it would be so sweet with the top here and that scalloped edge to frame the face. And it has a little bit of a point, so it has that pixie look. It's just adorable, so sweet. And that is Aziza bonnet from the Wool Baby collection by Melissa LaBar. And then, of course, I had to knit one for my granddaughter. I made a little larger size because, although she is petite, I figured then she'd be able to wear it in the fall. She's 7 months old now. So this is the 6 to 12 month size, and it is in Quince and Company Chickadee in the Peacock colorway, which is a really rich dark green. The lace doesn't show up very well, of course, in this darker one, but it's snowing outside. It's just so pretty out there. And then my daughter-in-law sent me a photo of the baby in the Lila Babe hat, and it's getting pretty small on her, and it's in the Quince and Company turn in the Columbine colorway, which is the same colorway as this one, pomegranate, but it looks a little different in the turn because it has silk in it. So this is still wet, so that's why it looks a little floppy here, but I made one for her, and I knit it in the 6 to 12 month size. It hasn't been blocked, but I did wash it, and it looks huge here. It isn't really as big as it looks, but even though it doesn't technically match the sweater, I think they look good together. And I do have the yarn up here, you can see it, to make her the Camilla Babe sweater by Carrie Bostic Hogue. And so this bonnet will match that sweater, and she can wear it with this. And these are going off for Valentine's Day along with some other things. So that's why I wanted to record today so you could see that. Also for this baby shower, I just thought I'd show you this. It's nothing knitting related, but I got this cute bag for the gift. And then instead of a card, we were supposed to get a book and then write in the front of it, but I didn't. I'm not going to write in this one because I don't even know these people. They're offspring of a friend of mine. It's not a real close friend, but this one is Pout Pout Fish by Deborah Dyson or Deason. And I wasn't familiar with this. Apparently it's a New York Times bestseller, so you may well be aware of it, but it is my son's favorite book to read to the baby before bedtime when they start doing their wind down. He says, we wind down before we melt down. So that's part of the ritual for bedtime for them. I paused there to check my notes and take a drink of water, and I did forget something. I purchased these labels from Mountain Street Arts, which is on Craftsy. I can't remember who told me about those. I can't remember. It might have been Jennifer Grace. But anyway, it says hand wash, lay flat to dry. And I decided to sew them on the insides where there would be a seam if it were pieced together. And I told my daughter-in-law that if there's no label, then it means she can put it in the washing machine. And if there is a label, then it's hand wash. And I don't generally knit hand wash items for baby showers. My daughter-in-law doesn't mind too much, but this was just so pretty in the Quince & Company chickadee, and I had the chickadee on hand, so I just went with it. And if they wear it once and ruin it, well, I still had fun making it, so that was the main thing. Hopefully, I will include some washing instructions with that. And okay, then more knitting. Up there, I have my Quince & Company Lark, and this is for the upcoming sweater I'm going to do. It's the sans serif sweater from Top Down by Elizabeth Doherty. Top Down, Reimagining Set and Sleeve Design, which I did review on the podcast. I had an interview with Elizabeth. And I'm going to do the sans serif sweater, which is the basic cardigan. And I need to get my measurements. So Bronwyn and Sarah are coming over tomorrow, and I'm going to ask them to measure me and just face up to it. That's all there is to it. But anyway, it's a classic, and it's top down, and then it is a cardigan with kind of a scoop neck in front, which I like. I don't like things really tight up on my neck. I think that's something that happens as you mature a little bit. So that is some of the yarn. I have, I think, 12 skeins of it, and I've knit up one gauge swatch, but my gauge is a little tight on this, so I'm going to knit another one. And the way I do that when I do the gauge swatch is at the top of the swatch, I will put in the number, I'll put yarn over knit two together for whatever size it is, so I can glance at it and see that this is a size 5. And I did that on my signature needles, which I really like the circular signature needles. I'm not as crazy about double points in signatures. Oh, the obvious, the obvious one, the Wool Peddler shawl. I made this for someone who's going through kind of a rough time, and she's actually a knitter. This shawl, Wool Peddler shawl, is by Cheryl Oberly, and it's from the book Folk Shawls, 25 Knitting Patterns and Tales from Around the World by Cheryl Oberly. I love this book. It's, as you can see, I have quite a few tabbed in here, and I would have more, but there are a lot of rectangular shawls, and I'm not as wild about rectangular. So I have, this is, I think, the third time I've knit the Wool Peddler shawl, and it is a classic triangular with increases on the top and down the middle there. And then a beautiful, I think this is a traditional lace pattern. I don't know what it's called, but I didn't block it aggressively because I love the texture in it, and it's very large. It is, I think, about a 6 to 7 foot, well, it's at least 6 feet. I know that wingspan. Put it on so you can see here. There we go. That is Wool Peddler Shawl by Cheryl Oberly. And one of the listeners said that this is out of print, so I looked on Amazon, and if you go there, there's quite a few options for purchasing a used copy of the book. Also, behind me, you'll see my little garland of knitted hearts in a natural wool. That is a free pattern, and I did it about 2 years ago. So you can go in my project page and look back around maybe 2014 maybe 2013. I don't know. But anyway, go back and you'll see the hearts in there. And I made a set for my daughter-in-law as well. And the way I did it then, I just took a natural wool in a darker color and I just skimmed it through the back. So I can actually rearrange these kind of, if I see one of them is slide them along their little cord there. And then I anchored it on the mantle with one of those 3M products that's a hook, and you can remove it without it leaving a mess. Last time I used a Velcro sticky thing, and it was really not fun to get it off. These are supposed to come off easily, and so far they've held up really well. I think that's all in the background. Oh, the trees over here. Those are, my dad made those. They're actually kind of a Christmas decoration, but I like to leave them up, and they are turned on a wood lathe. So I'm very fond of those. My dad did a lot of woodworking and wood turning, so we have a lot of wood pieces, and my husband does that as well. Okay, I think I will show you my works in progress and one little organizational tip. Excuse me, I have to step aside to get that. I just thought of this. I just thought you might like to see this. It's one way that I keep things from getting too cluttered about the house. When I have something new, a pattern that I've printed out, some of you don't do a lot of printing of patterns, but I tend to. I put them in a notebook, and then I have tabs in there. So these are all things that I'm kind of currently interested in. Here you'll see Nina Phillips, 2 at a Time, top down, which 2 at a Time socks by Nina Phillips, which is a free pattern on Ravelry. And I want to learn from Nina Phillips, since she's a knitter extraordinaire. That's the Knitting Expat podcast. I know I'm making a lot of noise here. This just I stuck in here. This is a template of a mitten I came up with, and I don't know why it's in here. I'm not working on mittens. I have some of these pocket folders where I just have some miscellaneous things I scratched out on pieces of paper that I think I might need at some point. And here's the Fish Lips Kiss Heel by Patty Joy. And a lot of you have purchased that to support her in her breast cancer fight, I guess you could say. I keep leaning up there because I guess I should just plug in my laptop when I'm doing this. And then I have that tabbed for the important part. I did, and here's some of Helen Stewart's patterns. And so anyway, every couple of weeks I'll go through it, and if there's something in here that I'm no longer interested in, I take it out. So it's just a 3-ring binder, and otherwise I end up with stacks of paper, and I'd rather have it all neatly in a binder. So the Fish Lips Kiss Heel, I thought I brought that over here. Apparently not. Well, I did a little mock-up of it. I guess you don't need to see that, but just to try it out, I used some DK weight. I actually used the yarn that was left over from this. Oh, I forgot to say what this was. This is Barocco Vintage DK. It's a really inexpensive, commercially made yarn, so it's perfect for giving away a shawl because it has wool in it, but it also has synthetic. I got it at Unique Yarns in Morton, Illinois, and I think I used 2 and just a little bit more of the 3rd skein, so I have a whole lot left of the 3rd skein, and it's really, really reasonable. So I think you could easily do this shawl with 2 skeins of Barocco Vintage DK and maybe just leave off the last repeat of the pattern. I think I actually did an extra repeat just because I could, and I had so much yarn. Oh, I like that so much. She's going to love it now. She'll be getting it here soon. So I started a pair of toe-up socks. Sorry about that noise, but this is my little needle keeper. This is from Make This From That on Etsy, I think. Yes, I think that one is. I have several of these. And here's my toe-up in the another Crafty Girl Punky Brewster colorway. These are for my husband. I am using the basic toe-up in Custom Socks by Kate Atherley. I've actually knit top-down socks, many of them by Kate Atherley, but I decided to, this book was sent for review from Interweave, and I really like it. So many good sock books out there now. Here's my husband's foot, the template for it. Not sure how accurate it is. I'm not real good at drawing those. But anyway, I'm using the toe-up sock, general basic toe-up sock in this, and then I'm going to use the Fish Lips Kiss heel to see how I like it. And I do really like this book. There's great information in here and some really good patterns. Custom Socks, knit to fit your feet. 15 patterns, 15 plus patterns to make your own by Kate Atherley. And then the bag I have that in is Prairie Bag Works. They're vendor sponsored our retreat. And of course, when I saw the butterflies, I love their bags. They're really well made. This one has 2 pockets on the inside, and then they always give you stitch markers on the thing, and then their business card has the Kitchener stitch, I think, on the other side. The Kitchener stitch is one thing I do not need help with. About everything else, if it had Judy's Magic Cast on, I would definitely need it, because I always forget how to do that. I don't do it enough. And the other thing I really like is that on the back of this, there's a ruler, so you can measure if you don't have a measure with you. So that's one project I have going. And then I also have the Balsam Hollow shawl, and that is by me. And I rarely make anything again after I published a pattern. I'm just done with it at that point. But this is a special colorway that Little Skein and the Big Wool. It was published originally as a kit by Little Skein, the Big Wool, and it's just so pretty. And she sent me one to give away and one to keep. And the person who won chose the green one, and I was secretly happy because I really wanted. So both of the shawls have this Christmas at Green Gables colorway, and it is so pretty. It has little flecks of green and orange. And then the green kit had a, I think it was winter shrubbery color, and then this one is called Vintage Sleigh Ride. So when I get down to the lace part, I will be switching to that. And I have that. Oh, I want to tell you about these needles too. These are from Webs. I can't see them very well, but they're black, and they're made by Suzanne. I think it's Suzanne, and they are made from recycled piano keys. And I really like these. They do not have a super sharp point, and the cord is a little, it has a mind of its own. But if you're not doing magic loop, I really like these. They just feel good, and whenever I can, I only have, I think, 2 circulars. This bag is almost like a cross between a basket and a bag, and it was given to me by Lisa. It's from Fringe Supply Company. Has a leather handle. I have this in use all the time. I really like it. It can close up, but usually I just have it open, and has a pocket on the inside with grommets in the pocket. That's from Fringe Supply Company. It's a heavy canvas with a box bottom. Okay, I really think I am finished with the knitting part. Let me check my notes here. Yes, I'm going on to quilting now, so I'm going to pause and reorganize, and then I'll be right back. Okay, I thought maybe I could hold that up and stand up, but then, well, we'll see here. This is the first quilt I made in the new age of quilting. I actually quilted back in the 80s where I had a cardboard template. I actually did a full-size quilt in the Flying Geese pattern, cutting each little thing out individually. I don't know how I did it, honestly, but I did. I used a Dover Publications for my guide. And then I took a class in 2010. I am going to get up so you can see more of it. And this was the class, it was at the Quilt Corner in Morton, Illinois. And it was a 4-week class, 3 hours on a Monday morning. And at the end of the 4 weeks, you finished the quilt if you kept up every week. And there's quite a bit of homework every week. But I'm so glad that I took that class, because I learned the basics. I'll squat down here. I learned the basics of cutting with a rotary cutter and all those newfangled things that I didn't know about back in the 80s. And then I took their second class and made this quilt. I almost got through the whole thing. I don't know if it has a name or not. I chose the fabric just in about 5 or 10 minutes. I decided to do it. I took the class, but at the end of the class, I was totally losing steam. I was not interested in finishing it, and it sat for 5 years. And then I sent it off to my friend Nancy in Minnesota, who does it professionally, and she did the beautiful quilting on it by machine and the binding as well. And yeah, that was just the beginning of 2015. Since then, I've gone I'm a little ballistic with it. I made a quilt for my granddaughter. And then, I don't have that one. They have it, obviously. And for that, I really like these. This one's three times the charm. These books, they're by Leisure Arts. You know those maybe from knitting, but I didn't know they had them for quilting. And I did one of these, this one actually, for her, but in really soft reproduction fabrics, which is something, it looked a little more like this one. They use it all the time in her photos. These are really great patterns. They're based on a charm pack. And I mentioned before, sorry, I'm just going to have to get out of the picture now and then to grab what I need. A charm pack, these are 5-inch squares. This is a Robert Kaufman charm square called Pretty Posies. I have 2 of these. I bought it on Craftsy, and I'm going to tell you about that in a little bit. But there are 2 of each fabric in this. And charm pack usually runs about $10, $11, but on Craftsy, you can get them for a lot less. And then I have the second volume of this, 3 times the charm. This is book 2. I have book 1 as well. And I'm gearing up to make a baby quilt, or actually 2. I was going to make one for the shower I have on Saturday, but then I thought, Paula, you don't even know these people. You've already knit a sweater, a hat, and you purchased a book. That's enough. You don't need to make a quilt. So I reined myself in on that. And then I'm going to show you this book. A lot of the quilts I've been making are from this book, Jelly Roll Quilts, by Pam and Nikki Lintott. I've made, I think, 3, and I'm getting ready to make a 4th one out of this. You can see I have lots of things marked, and I really like this book. And I'll be showing you in the upcoming episodes. I'm going to take just a couple quilts at a time. I think I've done, I don't know, like 6 pretty good sized quilts since I got into this last February, plus a lot of smaller things. But then, dear Sarah on LovesSockWool, she got me interested in Quilt As You Go. Made Modern, Fresh Techniques for Busy Quilters by Jira Brandvig. That's a Danish name, Brandvig. 13 projects and 25 bonus ideas. So, thank you, Sarah. I really love her podcast, LovesSockWool video podcast. She's great. She's so fun. And I started playing around with this. I'll show you what I've done here. I think this was the first Quilt As You Go one I did. And it's probably the simplest to start in the middle. What makes this different is that you quilt it directly onto the batting. You can see I got a little scrap quilted in there with it. And then I just did straight line quilting. See that a little better on the back. And these are reproduction fabrics by Moda. I can't remember what the collection is, but it's one you see a lot. And I purchased the Jelly Roll on Craftsy. If you go to Craftsy, please consider visiting my blog first and clicking on the Craftsy ad, because then I get a commission from your purchases, and it's just an easy way to support the show and get some great products as well. Here's another one I made. These first four, I think, are pretty much similar, but then I started thinking there wasn't quite enough variety in it. So I went into my scrap basket, and this one has some that weren't in the jelly roll. I think you can tell which ones those are. This will be cut off because I have to trim this one down yet. And then I started experimenting. I did a wonky log cabin, which isn't as wonky as maybe it's supposed to be or could be, but that was great fun. Then I did just made up, and then I introduced this one down here is something that I had in my stash. It's such a cute retro fabric. I'll try not to move these around so much. And then I did this one, which has some new fabrics in it, and I started in this corner and worked my way out. Then I did a pinwheel and put a border on it. You can tell I'm getting a little more adventuresome as we move along here. And this is where I broke into the charm pack I just showed you, the Robert Kaufman. I actually went into this because I bought two of them on Craftsy. They were, I think, $5 each. And so I just bought two. And I went in, and the pinwheel is actually made from fabric from that charm pack. And then I did this one, which is a half square triangle put together. I might do a little more quilting on that. And then last night I got really crazy and made this one. It's so fun because you can make one of these so fast, literally in less than an hour. Maybe these ones with the half square triangles take a little longer. And I'm just having a ball with this. I think I will still make traditional quilts, but it might be a little difficult to go back to that. But I don't know. Now, you notice these are not put together yet. That's the next step. And I'm going to make a couple more, and then I'll figure out how to get them together. I'm hoping that it's not too difficult. I don't think it will be. It's just another technique to learn. Some of the fabric I've purchased. Got this on Craftsy. This is a jelly roll called Hello Darling. It is by Moda, by Bonnie and Camille. And there you can kind of see. I don't like to open these up until I'm really ready to get going on it because they're so pretty and you can just stack them in your cabinet. Trying, like I said, not to accumulate a lot of fabric, but all these have, this is called Eclectic Elements by Tim Holtz, and it's kind of a manly one. And my nephew is getting married in June, so this is the intent for that one is going to be one of those jelly roll quilts using that. And I also, sorry, some crinkles going to happen. Not too bad. I also purchased the backing, which is musical staff. It's very cool because it has like map fabric, and it has what looks like a newspaper and some architectural drawings. It's very neat, and I think he and his wife, this is their style. They're really going to like that. And then I have a nephew, great nephew that's going to be born. And I got, this I did not get from Craftsy. I got this from Fabric Worm. I really like Fabric Worm. And this was a set of this. And I think this is what you call double gauze. It's a little bit different kind of fabric. You can tell when you feel it. So I don't know, I'm going to use the charm pack, probably I don't know what I'm going to use to make a quilt for that baby. But I got a kit from them called Bare Necessities, and it's the same fabric, and I'm going to make that for his older brother because I wasn't quilting when that boy was born. I knitted him a blanket, so it's not like I haven't done anything. And I knit sweater and hat and stuff for him. But I just thought it'd be nice since I'm sending a quilt to little brother that I send one to him. Also on Craftsy, you can buy larger pieces of fabric, not just the pre-cuts. And this is a Moda, I think. No, it's Robert. Let's see. It doesn't really say there. It's Nap Time Too by Darlene Zimmerman. I think it is Moda. And there are 4 yards in here. So I'll be able to use this for a backing for possibly that quilt that I'm working on right now in the Quilt As You Go. Here are just a couple of reproduction fabrics that I've recently purchased at Peddler's Way. See those little Scotty dogs? And then this is children on a swing. Let's see. Oh, a couple of tools for quilters that I really like. I didn't even know about these. And Nancy, who does my quilting for me on the bigger quilts, told me about Mass Drop, and I got these. They're called Quilter's Side Lock, and it's quilterssidelock.com, but it was a good price on Mass Drop. Mass Drop is a little bit like Groupon, but you can tell them what you're interested in. I'm only interested in the fabric and the quilting. I have bought a few things from there, and this is for your cutting. You use this, and it's safer and more accurate than a ruler. It doesn't have the measuring on there, so you still either use your ruler or your mat, but when you push this down, it does not slide. And as you know, the rotary cutter can be quite dangerous, and I got both of them. There was a long one and a small one, and I have to say I use this all the time. I'm so glad I got it, and I wouldn't even know about it if it weren't for Mass Drop. Thank you, Nancy, for getting onto that. And then I didn't bring this up, but at Joanna Fabrics, I got a ruler rack, and it's basically a piece of wood, and it has grooves in it, so you can put your quilting rulers in there if you have your 40% off coupon, and if it's not on sale. I'm trying to think what I paid for. It's not very expensive, and it definitely helped organize my area there. Okay, I want to talk just a little bit about Craftsy. First of all, if you have a chance to take a real-life quilt class in your area, I highly recommend it. You can learn what you need to know online, but in my opinion, the learning curve is a lot shorter if you take a class and you can just have someone watching you do things. But then Craftsy is great too, and if you don't have a quilt shop in your area, then that would be a great option. Let's see, there's one I took recently. I kind of hesitate to say this, but I do want to say I don't recommend the piece. It's called Piece by Piece for the Quilt As You Go. That's the intent of the class, but I really don't think it's a very good class. So that one, it's really the first Craftsy class I cannot recommend that I've taken. So I don't like to say negative things, but on the other hand, I don't want you to think, well, Quilt As You go into Craftsy and take that class, because quite honestly, if I didn't have that book and I took that class, I might not ever even try it because I was more confused than ever. But some I do recommend is if you like or would like to try free motion quilting, the one called Start Free Motion Quilting by Elizabeth Jackson. That's like Jackson, only with a D. That was a really good one. Now, I did take a 2-hour class at the Quilt Corner on free motion quilting, and I'm glad I did that, but I think the person that taught it was a little bit self-taught, and there were some basic things that she didn't tell us about. So I was very glad that I took Start Free Motion Quilting by Elizabeth Jackson. Then I took Magical Jelly Roll Quilts by Kimberly Einmo. And again, this is a jelly roll. And I didn't actually make any of the patterns that were in that class, but I definitely got some ideas and learned some tips from it. So one of the things I might have learned in her class was that when you open up a jelly roll, or when you first get it, to use a lint roller on top of it. These are kind of messy when you first get them or take them out of the package, because this is cut by machine and there's a lot of dust, and here, right on the table here, there's some. So anyway, use a lint brush, and just the sticky kind where you tear off the new piece or the old piece to get a new piece. And I do that all the time. In fact, a lint roller is one of my favorite quilting tools that is not a quilting tool. I use it all the time to clean up the table and my ironing board. So yeah, it's a great tool. Then I took 37 troubleshooting techniques by Laura Nouns. That's Nowns. Slightly dry in a way, but I got lots of tips in there. And the one tip that I got from that class that is worth the entire class was how to make perfect half square triangles. I kept, that's a basic quilting technique. This is a half square triangle right here. Here's another one. So pinwheels and lots of things are made from half square triangles, and mine kept coming out a little bit wrong. And in that class, she taught how to press them properly so that you don't stretch them out on the bias. And that one, sorry, that's my mail thing. I'll remember to turn that off next time. Maybe I'll just do it now. I'll do it next time. So just that one tip was so great to learn. And last night I went down there and I just started making half square triangles, and I was so happy because they're just perfect. They're not twisted, and it's all, for me, it was all in learning how to press them properly. So that one is 37 Troubleshooting Techniques by Laura Nouns. Then I just started a class called Smarter Strip Quilting by Joanna Figueroa. She is also a fabric designer. She had the fig tree fabrics is one that she has designed. I've only taken the first lesson, and already I learned so much from her that I'm so excited to finish it. And today is February, I keep forgetting, it's February 9th. Today she had, well, there was a class, there's a big sale on Craftsy classes, and some of the most popular ones, and her other class was on sale, so I just bought it. It's called, well, I didn't write it down, sorry. I didn't write down her other one. But the one I already have and highly recommend is Smarter Strip Quilting by Joanna Figueroa. But any class, I would sign up for anything that she's teaching because she just gives so many great tips. And then I think that's it for today. I know this is a lot longer, but some people told me they didn't mind, and I only do this every 4 to 6 weeks, so I don't feel too bad if the show is a little bit longer. I'll have to piece it together just a tad because I had to keep restarting there. But today is Fat Tuesday, and Peddler's Way Quilt Company has a fat quarter sale where all the fat quarters are $2. So I think I'm going to be going up there. This is a fat quarter, and I think, well, it's basically, I think, a quarter of a yard, but it's cut the other direction than you normally get it. And I'm not sure what the exact size is, but aren't their labels cute? Look at that, Peddler's Way Quilt Company, so cute. And they're having some kind of special cake up there, so cake is good. And then I'm going to go up and get some, I think, some reproduction fabrics and maybe something else. Who knows? I can't walk in there without getting something. So thanks so much for watching. And if you do decide to take a Craftsy class or purchase some fabric on there, or yarn too, I'm just a little more into the quilting classes now because I'm further down on the learning curve than I am on knitting. So I'm taking more quilting classes. But if you wouldn't mind going to my blog, knittingpipeline.com, which I will link down below, and just go from the Craftsy ad, I appreciate it very much. So have a wonderful time, and I will be back in several weeks. Thanks for watching.